Times out of 10, the average person doesn't need to be doing rituals. Sometimes we're jumping from ritual to ritual because we're trying to avoid the way. So now, whatever I attracted initially, I'm not going to be able to maintain because I haven't dealt with the hygienics.
Against the rules of rituals to ask for something you don't deserve, especially if you know it.
Well, who creates the rules?
I assume these are laws that's more ancient than the universe.
Yeah, but who governs and dictates those laws? When you say something like, I'm asking for something I don't deserve, ultimately you find out what you deserve and what you don't deserve sometimes by not receiving it. But there's an idea that like there's a spiritual parent sitting somewhere and saying, or like a spiritual Santa Claus. It's like, okay, you've been naughty or you've been nice, and it just doesn't work that way. The truth is, you can manifest anything you want. You know, you when you kind of when you flow with the idea of asking, it's like who would you ask and who would you deserve. So now you have this idea that something's lording over you. So I have to ask something. I got to pray. Basically, I got to pray, and if it's given to me, then cool. If not, then there's something wrong with me. But when you recognize that, well, it's not about praying, it's about affirming and manifesting. It's kind of like the movie The Secret. When that came out, it was all about law of attraction, law of attraction, law of attraction. But the issue with it, there was no commentary about morality. You can manifest a car, you can manifest a house, you can manifest a relationship, and all these different things. But should you? Is it what's best for you? Is it what's best for your community? Is it what's best for your family? There's no talk around that because that doesn't really sell. Morality doesn't sell. Abundance does. You know. So I would say to a question like that, is it okay to ask for something that you don't deserve? Ultimately, it's a request. You have to be prepared for the answer. If it might be a denial, or it might be, an affirmative, but ultimately, also, who are you asking? Who do you think is holding all of your riches, or is holding all of your blessings until you act right? Again, there's an idea that I have a parent sitting somewhere, and I'm a child that can't be responsible for my own manifested karma, or be accountable for the consequences of what it is that I choose by my own decisions to pull into my world experience. If I don't deserve it or I shouldn't have it, then it will manifest as something unfortunate or unpleasant in my life because it wasn't something that I was supposed to have. Now we go to people like me and diviners to find out, should I do this? Should I take this job? Should I go for the job? Should I buy this car? Should I try to buy the car? Should I try to have a child right now? And for most people I work with, I usually pretty much never will say yes or no. I will say, okay, if you do, this is what it will look like. If you don't, this is what it will look like. Now you make your choice. So you're going to be accountable for your own karma. So that's, as far as do we deserve it, that's my answer.
So there are no yeses and nos to blessings or whatever. It's just a matter of the road that it's going to take you down.
If you're wise, you don't look for a yes or no. Now, granted, a lot of my clients look for yes or no's. And they get frustrated with me. Just tell me yes or no. Should I or shouldn't I? You don't grow that way. So I'm going to tell you could, because the should or shouldn't, it's like when people ask about relationships. Is it okay for a woman to do this? Is it okay for a man to do that? According to what? Is it according to your culture? But even ideas like deserving, ultimately no one's deserving of anything. Anything that you receive is grace. Anything. I don't care how much work you've done, how many good deeds you've done, how many people you've walked across the street, how many children you've tutored. Doesn't mean you deserve anything. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that you do should be done towards your own purpose and moving towards what it is that you're actualizing to be. So you don't get rewarded for fulfilling your personal mission or your life mission. There's no reward for that. You know, so you don't deserve anything. But if you're giving grace and someone does something, okay, cool. And you should count it as that. Count it as grace. Don't count it as, yeah, I earned this. I deserve this. No, you don't deserve anything. The things that you deserve are the things that you go and manifest. You deserve that. You know, if I wash my face, I deserve a clean face at the end of it. Now, I may wash my face and then find out, you know, I'm having problems with my skin or whatever, and may find out, okay, well, you washed with the wrong soap, and now you strip your skin of all its natural oils and nutrients. I deserve that because that's what I manifested.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I don't just deserve a clean face. I deserve whatever it is that, whatever cause I created, the effect is what I deserve.
Should people keep in mind morality when they go into these rituals in terms of what they want? Or should they just focus on manifesting what they want?
Do what thy wilt is the whole of the law. Whatever you will yourself to do is what you should do. There's no, you should do it this, you should think about this or you shouldn't think about that. What makes the ritual work? That's what you should do. Now, so it's not for me or for anyone else to say you shouldn't be thinking about this or you shouldn't do a ritual for that or you shouldn't try, because we're all here to manifest different streams of cognition. There is a scumbag stream of cognition. It's supposed to be here for a reason. There's the, you know, the philanthropist. That's a stream of cognition as well. You know, the one who's, you know, ingratiating. There's so many different streams of cognition that to try to lock everyone into one vibe, you should do this or you should do that, that's not magic. That's the opposite of magic. You know, magic or rituals and formulas are just an extension of what we already are. It should be. That's why I say never do a ritual for something that you wouldn't do in person. So your personality is going to dictate, or who you are, what it is that you're going to ritualize for. Now, ultimately, again, you have to be responsible for what it is that you manifest, you know. But morality is primarily derived from religion, you know, and that's where a lot of people will get confused because they try to infuse the two. I get people like that a lot, like a lot of clients who they try to get me riled up for their causes a lot because they think I'm stupid, or they're used to speaking to stupid or fake practitioners, fake priests. So they'll come in and say, you know, my job is really messing with me, and I'm just trying to feed my children, or I'm just trying to take care of my family, and you know, they're trying to get me fired, and then I'm supposed to get amped up with you, and then now we're going to go on a warpath to do something bad to your boss. And then they always get the same answer, I'm not doing that. No. Let's do a reading on it. Let's see what Ifa says. Let's go to the highest oracle. Because if you left it to me and how I feel of my morality, my first response 9 times out of 10 internally, personally, is going to be, that's why you shouldn't have a job. Why don't you have your own thing, right? But that's not the answer for everybody. But that's where I'm at. So let's see what Ifa says, right? So that moral piece is subjective. It's like in the 14 keys when I talk about justice. It's mutable based on the person. My sense of morality is not going to be the same as someone else's. You know, someone may be in a job and they may be having trouble, but I may remember, well, last year I did a reading for you that told you need to leave the job. And you said you didn't want to for whatever reason. So now you're there and the energies of that space are pushing you out. So now you want me to go to war to keep you in. You see, so a lot of times it's stuff like that. I get those all the time, and that's why, as a priest, you have to be objective, and you have to be detached. You know, you can't get into what you might imagine morality to be. For me, morality is a very small thing in my world because it's based on a finite understanding. But meanwhile, I'm tapping into energies and spirits that are infinite, as far as they're infinite to the degree of where my finite is. They don't have an infinite knowledge of everything, but compared to where I'm at, might as well say they do. Right? So I can't, my morality is determined upon by my experiences. But I'm this in the timeline of existence. So I don't really know what real morality is. If a tsunami or a hurricane or a tornado or a volcano has to erupt and be sent somewhere, in my moral stance, I'd want to stop it. Unless it was only going to wipe out someone who I consider to be an enemy. Then, oh yeah, let the tornado fall on top of their house. You see? So that's pretty subjective.
Right.
So I can't utilize that to determine what I should be doing spiritually. My spiritualism has to be driven and motivated by my soul reflection. The soul reflection is not judgmental. There is no morality at the soul level. It just is what it is. Because we're looking for good and bad. We're looking for right and wrong, which are dualities. The soul is not trapped by dualism. Spirits are trapped by dualism. The spirit of righteousness, the spirit of wickedness, and they go to war. See, there's a duality there. I'm trapped by duality. I'm going to say yes, I'm going to say no. The soul just moves forward in completeness. So when I'm reflecting from that, then I'm reflecting what's going to happen. This is just what's going to happen. And whether it's right or wrong, you can make that determination. Because some things that I may consider wrong today, next year, I may say, no, I see why that needs to happen. You know, I see there were friendships that I've lost in the past and relationships that at the time, maybe the way it happened, I felt like, man, I wish this wouldn't have happened. Or I wish, this could have went down differently. But you look back and you say, man, I dodged a bullet with that one. I'm glad I'm no longer associated with that person or in a relationship in that way with that person. And I wouldn't be able to do the things I'm doing today that I'm enjoying. So when it comes to what kind of morality I should be thinking about, your culture dictates that. But before you even go to do a ritual, your cultural morality is going to tell you if you should or shouldn't. Someone says, I'm going to do a ritual for a mate. I get this one all the time. Chief, can you give me some rituals and spells for me? Okay, yeah, sure. But then I might start querying them as to, are they prepared for me? If you're a man, are there certain things you put in place? If you're a woman, certain things you put in place? No, that's what I'm working on. So why are you even thinking about doing a ritual? Because you want to skip what you're supposed to do. So now your morality, or lack thereof, has dictated the need for a ritual. 9 times out of 10, the average person doesn't need to be doing rituals. You're not a warlock. You know what I mean? And everybody who thinks that all these females think they're witches, you're not a witch. Just because you're different, or because you look at Erykah Badu with a certain level of esteem. So yeah, I'm a witch. You're not a witch. That's not what a witch is. You might just be weird. Some people don't know the difference between weird and being spiritual. When you're spiritual, you're always appropriate for the moment. You're always picking up on the energy and the vibe of the moment and know how to navigate it with proper appropriateness. Just because people don't get you, or because people are offended by your truth, doesn't make you, spiritual. You might just be a jackass. So the amount of rituals people do, a lot of times they may not work because you don't know what you're doing. You don't have any real power because you're not tapped into the soul. That's the only place there's power. And the soul may be an uncomfortable place for you because when you tap into the soul energy, you're going to have to let go of some of that anger. You're going to have to let go of the hurt. You might even have to let go some of your pleasure seeking. There's a lot of things that the soul burns and strips away. It's a fiery, hot substance that burns away the joys and pains of our humanity. So once you start moving into that space, you'll find, well, I don't really need to do a ritual for me, because the void that maybe I felt before, I don't feel. So maybe now my reasons for wanting to be with someone, maybe the want is not even there, because desire begins to melt away. Rituals for money, maybe not so much, because my life is shifting in a way where maybe I want to simplify it. Maybe I'm okay with living in a small space and having less and things like that, because I'm focused on something else. So when you start moving into that space, your experiences of the earth, of humanity, begin to burn away. And a lot of people don't want that. So they want to constantly do rituals to keep that. Then they may come to someone like me, get a reading, and I'll say, let the job go. That man or that woman you chasing after, let that go. Let that be where it's at. And you're not comfortable with that. Or he didn't answer my question, or whatever. Question was answered, but it was answered at a level that you don't want to ascend to. So then you'll infuse the morality thing. But we're not reading from morality. We're beyond morality. You see? So yeah, your morality is going to dictate if you're going to do a ritual or not. And 9 times out of 10, if you're living a balanced and sane culture, you don't need all those rituals. I want to mate. Well, what kind of culture are you living in at your certain age you don't have a mate? Or you've been running through people left and right. You're 30, 40, 50 years old, you done had a bunch of children, done been in a bunch of relationships, and you're still looking for mates. At some point you realize that the culture that you're living, you're just going around hurting people. And now you want to do a ritual to find a new person to hurt. Or the culture that you live doesn't promote wealth building. There's no economic culture. So now you're constantly doing rituals to get money because there's no economy. So if you are invested in a proper and sane culture, you won't be doing rituals so much. The main rituals you'll be doing, in all honesty, will be offerings. Once a year, twice a year. You'll have community offerings, community celebrations. This is when we go to the ocean, we do this. This is when we go to the woods and do this. It'll be more communal. If there's an emergency in your family, you may or may not need a ritual. So that's why I always stress education over initiation. And a large part of what I educate on is how are you living? If you're living foul, can you do a ritual? And this is what we spoke about earlier. Can you do a ritual? If I'm a foul person, can I do a ritual to get something good in my life? Absolutely. Yeah. But it's just like, if I stink hygienically and I put on, some essential oil to make myself smell better, what happens when the oil wears off? Yeah, when I put the oil on, people are going to come, oh, can I get a hug? You smell nice. I'm going to get all of that. I'm going to get all the attention. Everyone's going to love me. But when the oil wears off, my true self comes out. And, ooh, you stink. Get away. So now whatever I attracted initially, I'm not going to be able to maintain because I haven't dealt with the hygienics. And let's just say if it's like hygienically I stink, but internally there's something coming out of my pores. There's some type of infection, or maybe I have a liver issue, or I have a rotten tooth, and I can only pop but so much parsley in my mouth, or so much mint in my mouth, try to get away, from this rotten tooth that stinks. And then eventually when that wears off, now people are going to smell. So, a foul, quote unquote, if we're using subjective terms, person can attract something good in their life, but it's the transformation of their internal thought that maintains it and keeps it. There's an Odu, Iwori. Iwori is Iwa Ori, which means the character of consciousness. It's Shango's Odu. And the significance, one of the significance, is it really talks about how introspection can transform a person. So how we're transformed from the inside out through introspection and the refinement and the renewing of the mind and of how we're thinking about things, you know, and how we're processing. Now, thought is what shapes character. You know, words shape destiny, thought shapes character, character shapes destiny. You know, so, or character feeds into what your destiny is going to be. So, you know, sometimes we're jumping from ritual to ritual because we're trying to avoid thought, or thought, or Tahuti. And Tahuti, or thought, or thought, is the law bringer. Law is what? A product of culture. It takes you right back there again. So you have to deal with that first before you deal with the thought. Before you, I'm going to skip the thought, just give me the ritual. Okay, and I tell people all the time, it will work for a little while because magic is temporary. All magic is temporary. That's when people say, oh, there's a family curse, somebody put a family curse on my family. How long ago? I don't know, when I was born. It's off. It's gone. It's gone. So whatever's still wrong with your family is what's wrong with your family. You know, whatever's still wrong with you is what's wrong with you. Magic is temporary. It's the transformative aspects of thought that create a permanent reality in this impermanent world.